Alright, we have heard Adam say, I have the power for what, over 40 years now? But one incredible scene in the new Masters of the Universe movie asks the question, what does it actually mean? Hey, I'm John, aka Shadow, MOTU superfan of course. And if you're like me and love talking about He-Man and She-Ra, make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below if you agree or disagree with what I'm going to say here. Because I feel that the Masters of the Universe fandom has always had two slightly different ideas of who He-Man is supposed to be. There's a passionate group of fans who prefer the more barbarian-inspired version of the character from the earliest minicomics. That He-Man is a wandering warrior from the jungle, someone defined by raw strength, courage, and much more of a traditional sword and sorcery style. But the larger mainstream audience tends to know He-Man through the Filmation cartoon. That's basically my interpretation as well. In that version, He-Man is Prince Adam. He is compassionate, thoughtful, and reluctant to use violence when another solution might be possible. His strength is obviously important, but it is always guided by a very clear sense of right and wrong. What I really appreciate about the new Masters of the Universe movie is that it finds a way to give us both versions of the character, but in a much more fully developed way. When Adam is introduced as a child, the movie immediately establishes that he would rather talk through a conflict than fight his way out of it. He is not naturally aggressive. His first instinct is to understand people, reason with them, and look for a peaceful solution. Then, when we meet him as an adult stranded on Earth, of course Prince Adam would end up in HR. He is literally working in a profession built around resolving conflicts, understanding people, and trying to keep situations from escalating. It's a very funny character detail they went with, but it also tells us something important about who Adam has become while he is away from Eternia. So he may be separated from Eternia, but he has not lost the fundamental qualities that made him worthy of being chosen in the first place. At the same time, this is not a weak or passive Adam. Unlike some newer interpretations, including the much more timid version of Prince Adam we saw in Netflix Revelation series, this Adam is determined. He refuses to surrender the memories of his past, and even when everyone around him tells him that these memories seriously cannot possibly be real, he hangs on to the fact that he will not forget Eternia. He knows that something has happened to him, he knows that there is more to life than what he sees on Earth, and even after years of doubt, isolation, and frustration, he refuses to let that part of him disappear. That determination is part of his strength long before he ever raises the Sword of Power. But when Adam finally does become He-Man, the movie does not suddenly present him as a finished version of the hero, and this is excellent. He has the body, he has the strength, and he has more power than he has ever imagined. But he does not yet understand how to use it, and he has not adjusted to this power. In fact, Adam has what we could call, wink, a problem with power. He overuses it. For most of his life, Adam has been unable to prove what he remembers or accomplish what he believes he was meant to do. So suddenly he has enough strength to smash through nearly any obstacle in front of him. And he starts relying on that strength too much. He does not seek out help when he should. He acts on his own. He uses force before taking the time to think through all of the consequences. He-Man may resemble the powerful barbarian warrior of those early mini-comics, but underneath all that muscle is still Adam, a man who is learning what it actually means to carry this kind of power. And that, I feel, is the important part. The movie does not treat Adam's compassion and He-Man's strength as two opposing personalities. It shows us that both sides actually need each other. Strength without Adam's empathy can become just reckless, but kindness without the courage to act can leave people unprotected. Throughout the movie, Adam makes mistakes. He sees what happens when he assumes that the power alone can solve every problem. He learns that being the strongest person in the room does not automatically make him the wisest person in the room. And he begins to understand that becoming He-Man is not simply about transforming into a more powerful body. It is about learning how to bring all of Adam into that power. That development leads us to one of my absolute favorite scenes in 2026's Masters of the Universe. And it is not really about how powerful He-Man is at all. It is about Adam finally understanding where that power actually lives. A familiar idea in fantasy stories, a hero has a magical sword, an amulet, a gem, whatever, some type of incredible object, and they become convinced that this object is what makes them special. Without it, they believe they are ordinary or even powerless. But eventually, that object is lost, stolen, broken, etc. And that is when the hero has to discover that the object was never the most important part of the equation. That is exactly what happens here. Skeletor has broken the Sword of Power. As far as Adam is concerned, that should be the end of He-Man. The sword is gone, so the transformation is gone. The power is gone. But the sorceress knows that Adam has misunderstood what the sword actually is. She asks him, "What do you say when you hold aloft your magic sword?" And Adam, of course, begins with the words we all know, "By the power of Grayskull." But then he realizes how the transformation ends.
I have the power.
Not the sword. Adam. The sword is important. It is magical. It is a conduit that allows Adam to focus and call upon the power of Grayskull. But the sorceress did not choose the sword to contain that power. She chose Adam. He is the vessel. And I love that distinction because it means Adam is not simply the guy who happened to pick up the correct weapon. He-Man cannot be reduced to a sword, a transformation, or an enormous amount of physical strength. The power becomes heroic because of the person carrying it within. Adam brings kindness to it. He brings empathy. He brings humility. He understands fear, loneliness, uncertainty, and what it feels like to believe that you are not enough. Those qualities are not weaknesses that Adam must disregard in order to become He-Man. They are exactly what makes him worthy of being He-Man. And the movie has spent its entire story preparing Adam to understand that. At first, he sees the power as something that allows him to force his way through problems. He believes that being He-Man means being strong enough to handle everything himself.
I have the power of a god in my hands!
But you are not a god. You're a man.
But by this point in the story, he has learned that real strength also requires restraint. It requires judgment. It requires trusting other people and understanding why you are fighting in the first place. That is why breaking the sword cannot truly defeat him. Skeletor believes the power is something you possess, something that you can steal from someone else, control for yourself, or destroy so that no one else can use it. But Adam learns that real power is also something you embody. That is what makes this scene so satisfying for me. It brings together those two different interpretations of He-Man. We have the physical power and warrior energy of the early mini-comics, but we also have the kindness, humanity, and moral clarity that so many people associate with He-Man from the Filmation series. The movie understands that neither side is complete on its own. Adam does not disappear when he becomes He-Man. Adam is the reason He-Man matters. And this scene takes the most famous line in the entire franchise, something we have heard for decades, and asks us to listen to it differently. I have the power tells us where it now resides, inside Adam. And once he understands that, Skeletor may have broken the sword, but he has not broken He-Man. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, until next time, good journey.